Well, I messed all that up. What's up, my heroes? This is Greg Dunn, the creator of How to Build Games and Unseen Things, coming to you live. Video number 2 on technically day 3 of Devtober. I'm not going to be making a video every day. I'm going to be making quite a few. Hopefully the audio is synced up today, even though it looks like my transitions are switching in and out, but I'm working on it. So I don't hear any sound. Hopefully you do, and please let me know in the comments if you don't. But I'm getting the software a little bit better figured out, so I think we're going to be in good shape. So hopefully you joined us yesterday. If not, I'll give a really quick recap. I don't have a lot of time to stream today either, but I don't know that anybody necessarily wants to sit and watch for like 2 hours. Devtober is based on the artist thing called Inktober, where developers like me, if you've seen the game, you know I'm not an artist. Developers work on a game every day for 30 days to develop good habits, to make some progress, stuff like that. I'm doing that to get myself back into the swing of things, doing some streaming to kind of bring the channel back, make that live again. Excuse me. Just kind of make it happen. So I'm working on this idea called To Feed an Army. It's an older game. I'll go ahead and switch over to Unity. So it's an older game. It's an older game idea of mine. And the idea is that it's going to be sort of a Farmville meets RPG, and there have been a couple of games that have done that kind of along similar lines recently. But nothing that's quite matches the vision in my head. And that's an important point. Just because somebody's already done it doesn't mean that you should not. You don't want to go and copy somebody else's idea, but just because I had an idea that was about growing things and sending people off to battle, and somebody else did that, does not at all mean I shouldn't do that anymore. I'm going to switch over to my code editor just to make sure that is functioning properly, and it looks like that is functioning beautifully. So now I'm going to go ahead and minimize that and come back into the game. So this is the game. I'm going to hit play, and I'm only going to recap yesterday and today. I'm not going to do this every day. I'll assume if you're interested, you can go back and watch one of the other videos. Again, apologize for the audio issues yesterday and the big, logo for 30 seconds. Not my intention, and some, wonkiness today. But I'm getting there. I'm trying. Like I said, if you have questions or you can't hear hello or han even, I probably butchered that, but I'll say hi anyway. So, hopefully, everybody is watching. This is my game. So, the basic idea, you've got a timer that gives you a certain amount of things. It gives you 1 point after 1 second. It gives you coins. I can unlock this for 3 coins. And this is programmer art. This is not real fancy. It's not supposed to be fancy. You can take things and work on them a long way before, you see as I get more coins, each of these unlocks. You can take things a really long way before you need to get the artist involved, I think. Now, if you've got artists and you're working with artists at the beginning, that's awesome. But if you're just a programmer and you don't have artists at your disposal, or friends or hire or whatever, that does not at all mean you should not be working on your ideas. You absolutely should. So as I click each of these, the timer goes down. And again, this is terrible looking programmer art that's really clear. This is an old version of Unity. This is an old user interface system. This is called EasyGUI, which was awesome. The most awesome user interface thing in Unity for a long time. But it's not anymore. Unity made a really nice UI system now that I'm getting more and more comfortable with. I have been using Unity for almost a decade, and there were not any good user interface options. So I went with EasyGUI, and that's treated me really well. So I've got 29 coins. Now I could buy this that every 10 seconds gives me 15 points when I click it, or I can get the auto clicker here and click that, and that's going to start running. Hey, Taylor, thanks. So, just kind of showing the demo. So, I don't know where this game is going to go. I know that I want this game to be sort of an idle clicker, and in my mind, this game is going to be sort of a Farmville, in that you grow things, although it may be swords or armor or magic wands rather than just, crops. And then you equip that army and send them out, and the name of the game being to feed an army, as you can see right there. So now I'm going to enable my auto clicker here on the 2 coins, and that counter counts down, and then boom, I get the other 2 coins, and it counts down, and boom, I get the other coins. So these would be the plants and things like that. And you can kind of see over here this white transparent, semi-transparent thing is my blocker. So as I click each of these, this goes up to block the click. There are other ways to do that. That's kind of the quick and dirty way of doing it. I am all about doing things the quick and dirty way in the beginning. That's really important. Later on, it might still work. You might want to rewrite it. That depends on what the project's for. Games, a lot of times, there's a lot of wiggle room, at least in the stuff I make. I'm not making, first-person shooters with, tons and tons of, extreme performance and stuff. I don't need all that. I want it to look good. I want it to run good. I want it to run well on a variety of devices. Old devices, I've got old devices going back to iPad 1, iPhone 3, so I can try it on those for the most part. But even if you do something and it's not, this is a best case way of doing it, it's okay. If it, there's a saying that artists have, if it looks good enough, it is. And a lot of times in 3D animations and stuff, you will find there are cheats that are done to make things look or work or function a certain way that it's really ugly if you look behind the scenes, but it doesn't matter because to the end user, the end result is that it's fine. So, microtransactions, the game. Yeah, definitely not. This will be a paid game, probably. I'm not a big microtransaction kind of guy. I think microtransactions can have their place. I've got an app coming out soon that I'm working on with some folks that's going to be kind of like some of the calm and meditation type apps, but there's a one-time in-app purchase to unlock all the stuff. Or one of my other games, Rolling Blocks, that I'm getting ready to release hopefully in the next month, is going to be, hey, here's 1 or 2 levels a day or a week or something like that. If you want to unlock all the levels, that's a one-time purchase. I am not about microtransactions, the game, but that's really funny. Zoologico. But yeah, so I'm, even if this game does end up on Facebook, it's not going to be, or buy 8,000 coins to, progress your day faster. Because I don't like playing that. I'm not going to build anything that I don't want to play. All the games I've made, I play. I've got games that I've played for years that have not seen the light of day, other than people that come over to my house or that I see at church or at work or whatever. I'm like, hey, check out the new build. So even if it looks like that, it's going to be more of a time delay feature, more like an idle clicker, which was kind of the original microtransaction-y, but not. But it was all in-game transactions. You can't go to Cookie Clicker and buy 3 days. Well, I mean, you probably can now, but you couldn't initially when I played it. Or whatever that candy game was, Idle Clicker. Anyway, I'm rambling a lot. But, I mean, that's kind of the point. I want to teach my viewers how to build games. Not just, here's an 87-part RPG tutorial. It's, 6 minutes a chunk or an hour a chunk. that teaches you how to do this one thing. I would rather teach people how to think like a programmer, how to think like a game designer, to take my 10 years of Unity experience publishing apps and games, mostly for other companies, not a lot of my own personal stuff. Had some very successful ones. Take my 25 years of programming experience in database and network and graphic stuff and all that stuff, and help my viewers, you guys and girls on my channel, help you understand better how to tackle some of these things, some of the thought processes that go into this. So that's the basic idea. Like I said, next steps are going to be, I'm going to upgrade this to Unity 2019.2, like I said yesterday. I probably won't show that on video because there's generally not much to that. You load it and it's like, are you sure? And you're like, yes. And for the most part, and I've moved stuff from like, I mean, if you're using crazy stuff in like Unity 3, there were a lot of changes between 3 and 4, a lot of changes between, less changes between 4 and 5, but still significant ones. I've been using Unity since version 2, or 2.6. So I've been around a while, and I've still got projects in Unity 5 because I did a lot of stuff in Unity 5. I was very comfortable with it. When they started coming out with all the new versions of all the, everything, I tend to not want to be quite on the bleeding edge unless I really have to be, because there's a lot of bugs out there. A great satire game like a microtransaction simulator. That's a cool idea. I think that's already been done, but I don't know. That's definitely a possibility. And like I said yesterday, some people say, well, why? Some people could say, why don't you just go buy this off the asset store? I love the asset store, but if I do this myself, I know it. I know every line of code in there. I've written massive programs with all kinds of scripts and all kinds of scenes, but I knew every line of code in there because I put it there. When you do that, you know exactly where to, in time, once you have enough experience, you know exactly where to go to change something. You know exactly what to do. You know exactly how to take this chunk out and rewrite it completely because you put it all in there. When you buy things from the asset store, and they're great, and I do that often, everything from models to full kits, but you've got to spend time getting familiar with what's there because somebody else wrote it. So this way, and I've done this a number of times, I can take this idea and I can make a microtransaction simulator like Zoologico suggests. And I could kind of branch that off and do something different with that later on. Look at all those coins. I could do something later with it because I wrote all the code. I could take out one little bitty piece of it and do something with the code. So there's not a lot of scripts in here, and I am going to have to head out shortly. But I'll just kind of show you what I've got, and in the scene, and then tomorrow I'm actually going to, well, not tomorrow, I've got a commitment over the next couple of days. On Monday, I'll be streaming again, and probably every day next week, going through, showing things, upgrading things. So here are my three little, and as I move over here for the arrow keys, you can see them. So there's the prefab with the auto clicker, prefab with auto clicker, prefab with auto clicker, and the three prefabs without. Each one's got some different information. If it's got an auto clicker, it's got information there. These are all public variables. Some people say, oh, that's terrible, don't do it, because if somebody else gets the scene, they could, drag a script where it needs to be a game object or whatever. And yes, if you're working in a big environment with a bunch of people that don't communicate well, that's an issue. If you're the only one doing it, again, you know what's there and why it's there because you put it there. I have no problem writing public variables dragging things in here. And I've done it in environments where there are several developers working on things. If everybody knows what they're for and why they're there, you can reuse them tremendously. They can be very, very, very useful to make your scripts and set them up with public game objects, and reuse that same content over and over and over. I've got a kind of introduction to game development boot camp over at 5daygamechallenge.com for $19 to $99, depending on which package you want. It goes through 5 days. It's about an hour a day, and you get different content. And I show how you can take a simple script, attach it to something, and then take that same script and attach it to other things using public objects and things like that. I'm going to have some of that content here on How to Build Games as well. I'm going to have some free content. I'm going to have some paid content because I'd love to be able to share my knowledge and do this and create new ideas and share it with you guys and gals constantly. So, there's tons of free content out there if you want some of the better stuff, or if you want the convenience of not having to find all this stuff and put it in one place together, then you may have to pay for some of it. And that's just the way life works. You can find out everything you want on your own, and it'll take you a lot longer, or you can go to a college or take a Udemy course or take my course or whatever. Anyway, didn't mean to turn that into an advertisement, but there you go. So, clicker prefabs, they're pretty straightforward. I've got a blocker that just makes it so that I cannot click the object behind. I've got how many points. I've got the countdown, and you can see the different things happening. I've got different scripts that are running all this. Basically, the cost blocker, basically this button click object is the same on all these. If it's got an auto clicker like those three do, then this is filled in. Otherwise, it's not. But that button click object, and I'll just double click that to go over here and real quick just make sure that that did actually transition over. Looks like it did or will momentarily. Yep, there we go. Public variables. Now, this is Rider, JetBrains Rider that I'm using as my editor. I'm not using MonoDevelop because that's really old. Most people aren't using that anymore. Most people are using Visual Studio. VS Code is a good option, and that does work on Linux and Mac. But I got JetBrains Rider. They did a 50% off deal on like their anniversary or something. It was like a 2-day sale. I picked it up. I've grown to like it quite a bit. It's just a little more consistent. It's got some nice features. I'll elaborate on that another day. But it's got features that are gray, or items that are not used anywhere. I think it's telling me that, well, it doesn't like the way I name things. That's okay. I don't like the way it named things. Not much to the script. We've got a basic awake, MCP, that's throwback to Tron, master control panel. If that's empty, then find the thing called the game manager, put it in there. You don't want to do game object find very often. Doing it once on a handful of objects in an awake is okay. There's some benefits to doing it this way. That's for another time. Start, all my startup stuff. Nothing super fancy. Put in the countdown text, the point value, and this is, again, the button click object, so that's for whichever object that it's currently on. And I'll tab back and forth. So start does that. Update is what goes through. It counts down. Set the purchase material. Can the player afford? Do the unblock. So it's been a while since I wrote all this code. There's nothing super fancy, and yet this is the core of the whole game. You've still got the game manager script, the clicker MCP, which couple of things. We've got some buttons to keep up with all the buttons, a place to keep up with all the active buttons, place to keep up with the player coins and stuff like that. Not super fancy. Add to score, remove to score, also known as coins. Some debug log statements. If debug mode, that's really nice. That's something I do in almost everything. I make a public Boolean called debug mode at the top or the bottom of my variables. And so what that does is now, while everything's running, and they've got some different debug statements there going, but if I click on debug mode, then it's going to spit out more information, or it should anyway. As we add things to the score, it's going to kick out information that was not there otherwise. That's really handy to have that Boolean, public Boolean, and then have it in your code. Because, I usually put debug log statements in when I'm starting. By the time you get to your published version, you do not want like 8,000 debug log statements because they will make your game run really slow, especially if it's on mobile, even though nobody sees them. So that's a handy way to be able to keep that and tweak that. And as I get further in, I'll go through and put them, encapsulate them in those debug mode statements, and then I can kind of turn it on and off here as needed without having to stop it and change it and restart it and all that. So that's handy. Hey, Draken Studios. I love Rider 2. Let's see. It's a good program. It really is. So let's see. Let's go back to that. That's it for today. Hope you all enjoyed it. Hope you learned something. I have to run. Like I said, I'm going to do a little bit longer streams tomorrow, and they'll be earlier in the day. But please give a watch. Thanks for watching. Thanks for commenting. I'm getting my How to Build Games channel back. The Devtober is kind of my excuse to get it cranked back up and start doing more things with it. So hopefully technical issues are all gone, and I will see you tomorrow.